Welcome to episode 90 of The Bar is Ankle High, your weekly ADHD podcast that explores life's low bars with wit and wisdom. I'm Katie.
I'm Garrett.
And if you want extended episodes that include our nice little 20-minute plus intro that Patreon gets, you can join Patreon for $5 a month at patreon.com/thebarisAnkleHigh. You get ad-free and extended cut episodes. You also get video episodes that are ad-free and extended. And every once in a while, we release a bonus episode. We haven't recorded a bonus episode super recently, but you get the extended episodes, which are pretty much like our bonus episodes in like smaller form.
Yeah. Yeah, and we used to do it more regularly, but now you get extended episodes where we are equally as chaotic.
Yeah, so our bonus episodes are called Dysfunction Junction, and you could call our extended cuts Dysfunction Junction intros
Light.
to our episodes.
Yeah.
Dysfunction Junction light.
Yeah. Very simple.
Yeah. But this week, I'm talking about something that is like kind of memey. Like, you've definitely seen memes about it. You've definitely seen things that are like serious about it. I'm talking about love languages.
Oh, I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about this because I saw a thing recently that was like, they're bullshit.
Yes, I think I shared that with you because I saw a TikTok or...
Katie's like, yes, I sent it to you 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, so it was a TikTok or a reel on Instagram, but it was talking about how the man who made up the 5 love languages invented them in order to basically gaslight his wife into thinking that her love language was acts of service and his was physical touch, so that he could get laid all he wanted and she would do all of the housework.
Yes,
So
I read that and then scrimped.
Yes, same.
So yes.
And so I thought, love languages are topical, and also like then we're going to talk about what our ADHD love languages are.
Okay.
Because I thought that'd be fun.
Hey, side note, we should do, you know how you did a playlist for hormones?
Yeah.
We should do one for like love and relationships, and like the attachment theory ones can be on here, the dating ones can be on here. And then I'm so excited for this episode. So anyway, go ahead. But that was just a thought that I had, and I knew if I didn't say it, I would forget.
That's fair. Yeah. So our playlists are on Spotify. So if you're following our podcast on Spotify, you can follow our playlists as well. And they are also linked in one of our highlights on Instagram somewhere. But we do have a Spotify playlist of all of our hormone episodes. So yes, I will make a Spotify playlist for all of our dating and relationship episodes.
That's a great idea.
Great idea. So the 5 love languages was based on a book written by Baptist pastor Gary Chapman.
Oh, now I'm more mad.
His book is titled The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts, and was published in 1992. It's been printed in over 50 languages and has sold 20 million copies since its publication in 1992. Officially, his title is Dr. Gary Chapman. He's a doctor not because he's a psychiatrist or a doctor of psychology, but he does have a PhD in adult education from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary.
What, he has a PhD in adult education?
Yes.
Okay, that's as legit as me being a Fox doctor. Everybody, let's just... I don't give a shit.
I mean, it is from the theological seminary, so I don't know what adult education in the seminary context is.
What does that mean to
Uh,
Tell me, Gary, what does that mean to you?
tell me, Gary.
If
It's just
that's
a
even your
snail
real
from
name.
SpongeBob.
Yeah, like that. Oh, we're gonna be extra unhinged today.
Yeah,
Woo!
it's gonna
I
be
can
great.
feel it. I did warn you yesterday.
That's true. Um, and but according to Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary's website, this degree appears primarily geared towards preparation for Christian ministry. So, like, you're supposed to be teaching adults about being Christian. In his role as minister, Chapman has counseled couples
That just seems like
experiencing.
it should be like a weekend class and not a PhD.
I'm sure that they
I'm sorry.
do these like couples retreats at his churches. I mean, plenty of evangelical groups have like women's weekends, or I know
Yeah.
someone who goes to women camp with her church, which I just want to shove a pencil through my ear when
Yeah,
I hear about it.
is that really about religious education, or is that like
They were
that
best
seems
friends living together in the
yeah, that seems a little bit
1800s.
like they were roommates. I mean, don't get me wrong, go for it. But
No, I think it's very much about being a Christian woman.
ankle length dresses and
Gross.
being modest.
Right. Speaking of
Cut to
modest, if
Katie
somebody,
telling somebody to suck on her taint or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be invited
Anyway.
back if if I went to one of those.
No, we definitely would be disinvited from these for
Um,
sure.
but speaking of modesty, if someone has a recommendation for a cami with like a built-in little shelf bra that actually like covers your tits, like I need it to go like halfway up my chest
Mm-mm.
because I have,
This much cleavage.
yeah, like I'm like, so my cup size, like I'm like a 38G or double G right now, which I think in like UK sizing is like a 38J or whatever. But
Yeah,
they're
that's
just
about what mine is.
gargantuan
Hmm.
tig old bitties, and I
Yeah,
need a cami that I like because I just want something light to wear. Like I just don't want them like swanging out of control because like I'll hit
yeah,
a cat and knock it off a shelf or something if I walk around too
yeah.
quickly in my house. But I just want something light that I can just wear that isn't like also strangling my midsection. Anyway, that
No, it's
was,
like it's either like cutting in here,
yes.
or you've got this much cleavage, or you're coming out the bottom or coming out the top.
Yes. Like I'm at the
Like
point where I might try to figure out how to sew one myself.
I'll never be at that point, but yeah,
If I figure it
it's
out, I'll make you one.
you know what I do. Thanks, Kate.
The
Can't wait.
armholes will be uneven, but
I can't fucking wait to see what these bras look like. You know what I do like that are like comfy are the Auden ones from Target. Have you
oh
tried
yeah?
those?
No.
Those are they're pretty comfortable. My only complaint, I have one that I really like that's like cotton that does nothing as far as support, but my only complaint is it has this seam on the side
Mm,
and ADHD sensory things can't deal with it. So I'm constantly tucking my
yes.
tucking my shirt
I have some
underneath
stuff
it
like that
so
where
I
I'm just
can't feel
like,
it.
yeah,
Why? Like, did you try this on before you sold it? This is awful.
no. Probably some dude designed it.
Katie was like, "No, I didn't, okay?"
God, I'm sorry. Back to the drawing board with my homemade camisole
I can only do so
idea.
much designing bras.
No, not a bra, just a cami.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I just want a
But with a
cami that
built-in
goes
bra.
halfway up my chest so that my nip nops don't slip out when I bend over.
One of my biggest complaints about any bra that I've ever bought, they never have enough vertical coverage. Ever.
Yes. Yeah.
Ever. Like, I
I should
can't
see
tell you
what
how
that
many times I'm
forum
like,
on Reddit says.
yeah, like I'll buy something that based on measurements should fit, and then I just wind up with like or like I don't like showing cleavage. I'm very uncomfortable. I've always been very uncomfortable showing cleavage.
Yeah,
Um,
same. It's not my
which is
thing.
probably like because you know, when you have big boobs, you get sexualized from a very young age. Um, and it's just
Oh,
that
my
feeling
mom
of
told
like,
me that if I showed my cleavage, that people would think I was for sale. Mwah.
you're welcome. It's just, well, it's like as soon as you hit that age, like you start to notice
Yeah.
men looking at you differently. You start to feel that like male gaze starting like super young,
Yeah.
as opposed to like when some of your peers maybe have not even hit puberty yet.
Yeah.
And it's just like that feeling like carries through to now. So I'm always like, same thing with workout tank tops. You know what I
Yeah.
don't want? My titties hanging out when I'm trying to
I
exercise.
also like the ones that are high necked are also like long line sports bras or something. So then they
Hmm.
roll up because my
Yes.
waist is so small that I'm like the walrus in Alice in Wonderland. And so then it gets like rolled up and way tighter
Hmm.
around my band. So then I actually do feel like when you're making sausage and you have to separate the links, that
Yeah.
I'm the separation in the
You
links and
remember
I'm
when I
just getting
got
twisted up.
yeah, I got the Yitty stuff and
Yeah.
I sent you a picture. It was like a I like couldn't breathe and I couldn't get it off. I got a
It was
bra
wild.
and underwear and the underwear was high-waisted and the bra was like long line. And I swear to God, it's the closest I've ever come to somebody just going like this and breaking me into two pieces like a sausage. I said to Katie, I was like, I think I'm being cut in half right now. And I do like that they have like the grippy stuff so that they don't come down. But
Yeah.
the flip side is you can't fucking get them off when they have that. So I was like trapped. I was trapped in very tight, sticky fabric. And then I started sweating because I was trapped and I really couldn't get it off. It was a time.
Did you
It
have
was a real
that
time.
thought where you were like, I'm gonna have to call the fire department to cut me out of this? And
I have
then
literally
explain
been
to the
stuck in
fire
sports
department.
bras before. And I'm like, am I going to dislocate my shoulder trying to get out of this?
I always have that thought, like, is this how I die? Like, am I gonna die in this?
Yeah.
And then I have the thought of like
Yeah.
the funeral director trying to like prepare me for burial, and I'm just in the sports bra that
Oh,
like I've
yeah.
worn for years. Like I've continued living my life. I'm an old lady, just in the same
Yeah.
bra.
It's like Tobias, the never nude, and he's just showering in his shorts. Like that would be me with the sports bra. Like, well, just got to do my
It's
laundry.
the opposite of like when people say you die and your whole life flashes before your eyes. It's like when I like get into those situations and then I like flash forward to what my life would be like if I don't get out of this situation. Same in
Yes.
dressing rooms if I try on something that's too tight or too small
Mm,
and like can't get it off again, especially like I've had it happen a lot with like dresses that are like they don't have a zipper, but they're also not like a particularly stretchy fabric. So then once you get it on,
mm.
I like you can't move your arm the way you need to like pull it overhead again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's a terrifying moment, especially if it's something you don't own. I know, like when I was in the hospital having the baby, I had I just put on like a shitty sports bra with the understanding like, okay, if we have to cut it off, we cut it off. Like I don't care what happens to it.
Right.
I was literally planning on throwing it out because I'd had it for like years and it was like all stretch out. And at one point, I don't even remember. There was something where I couldn't pull stuff overhead, and I said to one of the nurses, I was like, just cut it off. Like I don't. She was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I really, I don't give a shit. Cut it off. I have other ones. It's not a big deal." But it cut off. It was just enough for like whatever we needed to do. So
Oh,
now it's like
okay.
hours later. I have this partially cut
Flap.
sports bra. Yeah, and I said it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said to the night nurse, I was like, "Can you help me? Can you cut this off?" And she was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, why is everybody in this hospital so concerned with this shitty sports bra? The desperate person who wants to get out of this overly tight and awkward fitting thing that's been cutting me in half for 13 hours just wants this off. Please, for the love of God, cut this bra off of my body before I lose my. It was a sensory thing too, you know,
Well,
when you
sure,
wear
because
something
then it's also
uncomfortable for so
like
long.
it's similar to like having the sock fall down in your shoe or something. Like
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not fitting the way it's supposed to,
Hmm.
but like yeah, no, it's
And
just
you've been like sweating, cooling off, sweating, cooling off. Oh.
And it would
It's just
also, I
like,
mean, I would have gotten to the point where I'm like, you can just give me the scissors and I will cut it. Like, it's fine.
yes, I
Like,
was
if you
fully
don't
desperate.
personally want to cut it, you can just give me the scissors. Like,
I'll
it's
chew
fine.
through this thing to get it off me at this point. It's like if your clothes are too tight
I'm a
all day and you get
chinchilla.
home. Yes, and you're like,
Well, that was it. So,
that was
like, I
it.
got home yesterday. Patreon's going to really love this extended cut. I got home yesterday and our friend was already over. And so I was like, yeah, I'm just going to shower. Like, so, like, I
Yeah,
showered and put on like a light sports bra and everything. But I was just like, yeah, I just need to like shower and reset and just get into clothes that aren't my work clothes and like take off my bra, which again, it's not like I wear real bras anyway to work, but
it doesn't
like,
matter.
yeah, exactly.
That's the bra I wore all day. I can't wear that now. I have fully gotten into, I will say, before bed. I used to like, no, I used to not shower I shower every single night before bed now. Even if I don't really need to, I'll just like
Mm.
jump in and rinse off. And I think it's like a mental thing at this point. Like I tried to get into bed without showering the other day and I was like, I got up and then took a shower. It's just like such a nice
Plus, you have a
end of the
really
day.
nice brand new shower. I would be using the fuck out of
And
that
it's
thing.
connected to our bathroom. Our bathroom. It is connected to our bathroom, but also connected to our bedroom.
Garrett
Um,
sleeps in her bathroom.
I do. I set up a cot in there. Um, but it is just really nice to like before bed take a quick take a quick shower. No, I guess not. I thought I heard my child flipping out.
Um, yeah, no,
I'm
a
sorry. We were
nighttime shower is
talking about
delightful.
love languages. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We
So,
totally derailed with the bra thing.
we really did.
Mm, sorry.
But in his
My
role as
bad.
a minister, Gary Chapman has counseled couples experiencing marital issues, but does not have any therapeutic or research background. But that counseling as a pastor is what inspired him to write his book, The Five Love Languages,
Oh,
which
thank
was
God.
also
Yeah.
published by Christian publisher Moody Publishers under the designation of Christian literature. So it's for sure not like therapeutic literature or self-help or anything like that. It is under Christian literature is the genre of book that this is.
And this has
So
really been regarded as like the standard for, I think, how a lot of like at least heteronormative relationships exist. Like, how often are you like, oh, I was having a beef with this, and PK was having a beef with this, and somebody's like, oh, his love language is this.
yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, I guess I need to adjust all the like the kind of fluffy language that goes with this.
So do you know what the five love languages are?
I know there's service, words of affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
um, gifts,
Mm-hmm.
physical touch, and I don't know what the fifth one is.
Quality time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So words of affirmation um, could be, giving compliments or reassurance. Like if
Hmm.
my love language is words of affirmation, then I need reassurance from my partner
Hmm.
that, they still like me, that they think I'm pretty. And also that's how I give love.
Hmm.
So I'm, I'll make sure to compliment you. I'll make sure to, tell you how much I love being with you. But on the flip side, it can come across as like really needy and kind of suffocating if
Hmm.
whatever. For gifts, it's my love language is also giving gifts, but also can be receiving gifts. So I don't like Michael Scott, a gift is how you show someone how much you love them and I love you this many dollars worth. Like
That's why I bought this plasma screen TV.
I just stand here for hours watching it.
Mounted it right on the.
If you have a lot of people, you can push it right back. That is impressive. Yeah. We watched that episode recently, and I told PK that it's like one of my favorite episodes in that whole series, and he was like, "This is the cringiest fucking thing," and I was like, "Yes, I know."
Uh, one of the hardest I've ever seen my spouse laugh to this day is when Michael Scott says wine has an oaky afterbirth. Yeah. He just every time wine comes up, practically he brings it up. It's so funny.
It really is. Between that and then Bob's Burgers saying that the red pairs well with the white. Love it.
That's so good.
But yeah, so gifts can be getting presents or giving presents, which can mean, you know, if your love language is gifts, then according to Gary Chapman, your love language is gifts, then, you know, like Valentine's Day, you can feel really hurt if your partner isn't going out of their way to either have a really thoughtful gift for you or a really expensive gift for you. On the flip side, it can make you seem like a gold digger or like super materialistic.
Yeah.
And so, whatever. Acts of service is like helping your partner with chores or wanting them to help you with chores. And the opposite side of that is like, well, if you need that much help with chores, aren't you just being lazy? Which is really charming. And quality time is doing things together, which can come across as suffocating or codependent. And then physical touch is hugs, kissing, and sex. Alternatively, maybe you're just a slut. So,
is this your editorialized version of?
No, it's we're gonna
like,
get
no,
into it.
Big old slut.
But it's like for physical touch, it's like if a man's love language is physical touch, and this is in the heteronormative space, but if a man's love language is physical touch but a woman's love language being physical touch kind of means that she's slutty. But if a man's love language is physical touch, he just really likes hugs and kisses and sex, and that's just how he really connects with his partner. But like a woman can't connect with her partner that way. So those are the 5 key love languages according to Chapman, but the research indicates that there's like way more than 5 ways that humans express love. There's like hundreds. And in one of the sources I read, there's, you know, things like supporting a partner's personal growth and autonomy is like a love language. Like,
well, and that's
for example,
like, for anybody that's been in let's say a relatively secure, stable relationship, you need all of these things. Like,
yes,
no relationship is going to survive. And can you not just see some douchebag that you dated in your early 20s being like, oh, you know, physical affection is really my love language. Not, you know, acts of service, meaning I can't possibly help you with all the laundry that I'm generating. I just need beaches on a regular basis
or even like quality time to monopolize your time. Like, oh, you know, my love language is quality time, which sounds really great. Oh my gosh, they just want to spend time with me. Yeah, but now you can't spend time with anyone else because according to them, like if they want to be abusive about it, then if you're spending time with somebody else, you're not spending time with them and it's not quality time and it's like a whole thing. So like these can, I mean, in any relationship, anything can turn really vicious.
No, these can be weaponized, like, for sure.
Yes, totally. And so that's definitely a risk. So an example in Chapman's book is a story about a woman named Anne. Now, full disclosure, I did not read Chapman's book, but I did read this article that somebody wrote who did read his book.
I'm so shocked. I'll be honest, I'd be really mad at you if you gave this man money, so I'm glad you didn't read the book.
According to one of the sources I read, he has a story in his book about a woman named Anne who has a husband described as extremely emotionally abusive. Their conversation starts with Anne asking Chapman if it is possible to love someone you hate, which, like, girl, run.
Yeah, just break up. What the fuck?
Chapman responds by making Anne read Bible passages about loving your enemies. After learning that Anne's husband's love language is sexual physical touch, Chapman tells the woman to save her marriage, she has to sleep with her horrible husband twice a week. Anne replies that she finds it, quote, hard to be sexually responsive, unquote, to someone who, quote, ignores her, unquote. To which Chapman responds that many women feel that way, and she must simply rely on her Christian faith to get through it. Chapman wraps up this lovely anecdote by saying that Anne took his advice and that there was tremendous change in her husband's attitude, with the husband swearing to his friends that Chapman is a miracle worker. We don't hear how Anne felt about it. So...
No, because Anne probably wound up getting pregnant fucking 4 more times and is now stuck with this man for eternity.
Yes.
Oh, it's making me, I'm mad as hell.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so this book was very
Go to your
popular in the
women's camp.
90s. Huh?
Go to your ladies' camp.
Yeah, exactly.
With all your girlfriends.
Oh, yeah, no wonder they need a fucking camp away where no men are allowed.
Fucking, yeah.
So
I'd suddenly become a camp counselor.
This book became popular in the 90s when the main marrying group was boomers, and which is all now.
I'm so sorry.
Boomers are now the most divorced generation of all time. Just fun fact.
Oh,
I know. Isn't that wild?
This is that same like men are from Mars, women are from Venus era, right?
Yes.
That's like when that book came out too, was the same. Okay.
I don't know when that book came out, but I think it's in the same vein. Like
I feel like the 90s.
The 5 love languages and like Chicken Soup for the Soul and those types of books.
Remember those books?
Yes.
I forgot about
they
those.
had a chokehold on everybody in the 90s and early
aughts. And especially like as a tween, everybody and their fucking aunt was buying you those books. And every time they'd give them to me, I'd be like, I don't want to read passages about some nerdy kid who was like, I just wish my love language was this with my friends. They suck.
Oh, for sure. I at some point I definitely had like Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul or something like that. And but like I just remember going to like BJ's or Costco at that time, and like there's, for those who don't know, there's like a book section in BJ's, and they're just like books laid out on a table, and it was all Chicken Soup. Chicken Soup for the mother's soul, Chicken Soup for the grandmother's soul, Chicken Soup for the coach's soul, for the teenager soul, for the tween's soul, for the college students, for the co-ed soul or whatever. And it's all these like little short stories, like this compilation of short stories, like a 250-page book. Like it was a long book. And
full of like rambling.
Just, I mean, kind of like this podcast, but we don't make you read it.
Parables almost.
Yes. And it's very like, well, I was fighting with my mom, and then I found out that she had a bad day at work, and sometimes other people have bad days. And it's just fucking insufferable.
Yeah.
Maybe I should get one of those books and do like a series reading the passages.
Please.
Okay, I'm going to order that. Wait, pause. Let me order it now before I forget. There's plenty of stories in Chapman's book that are like this, where it's, basically, and, the idea that these husbands are saying like, oh, Chapman's a miracle worker because now I get sex anytime I want. And my wife seems to be pleasantly engaged in it, and it at least is pretending, as opposed to having to be, assaulted by her husband every time, which of course these groups don't believe in marital rape. But, it's the kind of thing where like, I didn't find anything specifically saying that Chapman did this in order to fool his wife into believing that her love language was acts of service. I couldn't verify that claim, but
it's like, yeah, they don't need to say the quiet part out loud.
Well, and I think that's part of it, is like, and the idea that this, helped Christian marriages, it makes sense if you're giving the woman Bible passages about loving your enemies, in order for her to feel satisfied and safe in her marriage. Like that's an interesting twist on, and also, I mean, we see it all the time with like super, really heavily religious anyone, doesn't matter, I think, your religious affiliation, it's very the woman's fault, and the woman is
Yeah.
the one, like, very like, original sin was a woman's sin. And there's this song that is like went viral on TikTok, but it's I don't remember the title of it, but it's the first line is like, it's crazy how the very first sin was a woman who ate. She left no crumbs, blah blah blah. She licked her plate.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's like a catchy fucking tune, but it, like, when you think of it that way, in like the drag race way, like, oh, she ate, like, yeah, like, like, I love it, frankly. Like, you know.
Oh yeah, it's multi faceted for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just so it's so gross, like how pervasive this it's kind of like when there would be infertility issues and it was immediately the woman's problem and that she had been sinful, or it's you think about the depth and breadth of the this patriarchal, you know, men being in charge and finding these insidious ways to saddle women with not just like responsibility, but with like guilt and shame, and making this woman who's in an abusive relationship responsible for the well-being and health of that relationship,
Yes. And it's
and her own well-being and her spouse's
yes.
well-being.
And it's very clear, like, I read multiple examples. I only included one in my notes, but there are multiple examples of, like, the woman is saying, like, yeah, I would have no problem, sleeping with my husband 4 or 5 nights a week, but I'm exhausted after taking care of our kids and cleaning and doing, like, cooking everything and then cleaning up after cooking and then doing all the laundry. Like, if he could
Mm-hmm.
help me with those tasks and, like, put the kids to bed, like, I would have so much more energy to be able to
Yeah.
engage in that. Like, I wouldn't be exhausted at the end of the day. And it's like, that's not his love language, though. So, like, if his love language was acts
No.
of service, that would be helpful. But since your love language is acts of service and gifts, that's on you to, like, do that for him. And it's that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing where it was like a few years ago where I had seen something that was like, yeah, it's cool to know, like, how you show affection for another person, like what your love language
Mm-hmm.
outward is, but also, like, how do you receive affection? Because if my partner's um love language is physical touch and they want to, like, always be snuggling, like, while we're watching TV, and I hate that because I feel like I can't move and I can't get comfortable and I don't have that
Mm-hmm.
freedom to, like, fidget, then we're not going to be compatible if that's, like, a non-starter for him. And at the same so, like, it's worth it to know how you receive love and how your partner can receive love, but also, like, I think that the Chapman school of love languages is extremely one-sided. And it's like, at all times, the female in these hetero relationships is the one giving something. Like, they're doing the act at all times. And, like, you can't tell me that any of these Christian men know what a clit is or how to stimulate it in an effective manner that isn't just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, band sawing it off when they're trying to, like, rub it to death. So,
Yeah, I was gonna
like,
say sandpapering it. So yeah, same.
thank you. I could not think of the
Yeah.
phrase.
You thought of bandsaw though. I'm
I
kind
like,
of
I couldn't think of the thing
impressed.
that goes on a bandsaw. I was gonna say saw paper, and I was like, that's not right.
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't have been that far off, yeah, but still, yeah. Right track,
Which
wrong
is what
train,
all
as
those
they say.
husbands are saying. They're like, I wasn't that far off. Well,
Yeah, it's
I
like
mean,
your inner thigh, right? Like potato, tomato. Um,
did you? No, that's my leg.
um, Right. So it's like, you can't, I just refuse to believe that these women are even having pleasurable intercourse in the first place. But
It's just I'm just so salty about the whole thing. And I mean, for what it's worth, just like everything else in your life, like that evolves over time.
yeah.
Like when I was 22, yeah, my love language was probably way more like physical
Mm-hmm.
affection, or when you're early in a relationship, it's always physical affection, like can't keep your hands off each other. And then as time goes on, like we literally crash, we hit the bed and we're like out. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
no there's
I think
no
also
energy
like
for
those,
physical affection, but there is
yeah.
for verbal, like, thank you so much for taking care of this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, hey, I got that all set for you so you don't have to worry about it. Or, I switched over laundry, whatever it is. And that's stuff that goes way farther with me right now. Of course, in 5 years, I may be like, okay, yeah, can you tell me that I don't look like a pile of hot garbage right now? Because that would be helpful to me. Can I get like one compliment, please?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, also in the beginning of a relationship, like, I think especially for folks in our age group, like, we were the first ones on Facebook, but like making it Facebook official, like those types of
Hmm.
like outward demonstrations of I'm with this person, I'm, telling the world I'm with this person.
Hmm.
That was way more important to me in my 20s than it is now. Like I also
Yeah.
like my big thing, and it still was, like we had a discussion about it when PK and I first got together. I just don't want your profile to say that you're single. Like I don't care if it doesn't say anything, but
Truly the
I
bare
don't
minimum.
want it to say that you're like affirmatively single.
Right.
Um, which is like, and that's it. Like, and he was like, "Well, I don't know how to change it, so you can go into my," like he handed me his phone and I fixed the setting for him. But I was
Yeah.
like, I don't, you don't have to say that you're in a relationship with me or whatever, but like just don't say that you're single. Like I think that that's shady.
That's completely
Um,
reasonable.
I agree. But like it's the sort of thing that like 10 years ago I would have had like first of all, I wouldn't have mentioned it to him. Um,
Hmm.
and it would have been like a thing where I'm like, well, I don't want to request to be in a relationship with him if he doesn't think that we're in a relationship or like blah
Hmm.
blah blah. No, we just had a fucking conversation about it. But it does. It totally evolves over time. And it's the kind of thing where like we'll text each other like I love you during the day occasionally, but it's not like necessary. It's more like I
Yeah.
had an impulsive thought and wanted to scream it at him, so I texted him. And
That's the benefit of texting when you have ADHD. You can get those impulsive thoughts just out so they're not itching.
yeah.
Um, I know like I saw something like it was a long time ago. It had to be almost 10 years ago, and it was about something to the effect of like if you're having to prove on social media how great your relationship is, that's a problem. Like there's probably something missing if you're constantly trying to prove it outwardly. Um,
That's fair.
and I really kept that in mind, and I started kind of paying attention to it. Like in my feed, like there were certain couples
Yeah.
that it was just like it was a constant barrage of look how perfect he is and look how perfect this relationship is, and I think like when you I think that generally we've kind of moved past that. I think that a lot of that has like kind of settled. And I think you're right. I think that, we've all kind of matured a little bit with social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know like there were times where I have a spouse that has never been a big social media person who isn't the type to share private things like that on social media. And there was a time early in our relationship where I was kind of like, what
Yeah.
about me? Tell
Yeah.
me I'm cute on social media so that all of your friends and family can go, oh, look at your cute girlfriend. And now, I feel like a grizzled old truck driver, and I could care less about, him saying to people that, look at my cute wife.
Yeah.
This isn't my cutest season, and that's fine. But it's like it's it's it is it kind of goes back. It's almost like a love bombing thing. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what this love language kind of it's like a very insidious, abusive behavior kind of woven through that, which kind of goes towards that like religious patriarchy type of
Yeah.
environment, where when you kind of read between the lines, you're like, wait a second,
Yeah. Well, and
hold
also
on.
I think like many things in religion, it's trying to break things down into like a binary. Like you have
Hmm.
one love language of these five options. And so like then you're sitting there trying to like force yourself into one of these categories in order to like fit in the way you're supposed to, or like be able to
Yeah.
articulate something that you need. But again, it's like it doesn't give that room for growth or evolution and just how like life
Yeah.
changes. Like I get home
Yeah.
before PK, so more often than not, I'm the one that cooks dinner because I'm home earlier. So I have time to like decompress and get my shit situated before I have to do a task, as opposed to him
Hmm.
walking through the door and having to immediately cook dinner. It just kind of works for us right now. If his
Yeah.
schedule changes or my schedule changes, then we'll adjust course and
Yeah.
change how we do things, most likely. But like, and then there's days where we both come home from work and I'm like, I'm exhausted. I don't want to cook tonight. So we order in.
Oh
And
yeah.
like,
I mean,
it's
and that's it can change based on the season of life you're in, but it can
yes,
also change on a day-to-day basis. Like
totally.
I was Thursday? I had a fever. I was up. I got up with the baby at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was sleeping on the couch with her for a while so he could get some sleep. And I was a bear the next morning. Like I felt so sick. I was like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, just like feeling awful. My spouse literally came out. He was working from home. He was like, "You need to go back to bed." And I was like, "No." He was like, "Go back to bed. And I'm not going to have a discussion about like, you just need to go." He's like, "You're sick and you're tired. You need to go back to bed." And I literally slept like 4 additional hours that day. But in that moment, the love language that I needed was for somebody to be like, "Hey, you're sick and you need to just like rest and take care of yourself a little bit and I'll take care of the baby." And
Yeah.
there's other times where it's like, he gets home and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to take a nap with the baby. Why don't you?"
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just need like that little push. Do I need
Yes,
somebody to come home and be like, I could really use some affection? Like, I might throat punch you at this point if you came home and told me you needed affection.
for sure.
Um, like, you know what I need? I need a fucking break. That's what I need. So it's more about, it's less about having these like labels that you're putting on yourself and on your
Yes.
relationship. And it's more about understanding the person that you're with and knowing what they need from you now. And even if they have to communicate, usually I'm communicating when I'm at this point and I'm like, I don't know, I'm just. And he's like, hey, why don't you smoke a little weed and go for a walk and get the fuck out of here? Sometimes that's all you need. And it's like, I don't need you to tell me I just did a load of laundry. Yeah, fucking good for you. Like,
That actually happened
sometimes.
yesterday. I'm like walking into the house because I had to stop after I left your place. And Garrett gave me some things. So I had a bag of things and my work
She had
bag.
a bag of
And I had,
very random items
yes, it was a
picking up from my house.
menagerie of items.
Yes.
And then I stopped at the grocery store on my way home because PK wanted me to pick up some ginger beer so they could make Moscow mules. And then I needed more
Ooh,
like yogurt and I got some candy because I've kind of been wanting some like something just like sweet and small at the end of the day.
yeah.
And so I just got some
I want like a
candy.
little piece of chocolate.
Yeah. So I got some candy and some like microwave popcorn. And so, but I didn't have another reusable bag with me, so I had to use one of the paper bags from the grocery store.
Yeah.
So I'm carrying this paper bag that has a 6 pack of ginger beer in it, two 32-ounce containers of yogurt, and all this other random shit, plus my work bag and the bag that you gave me. And I'm like walking into the house, and they at least had opened the front door for me. But I walk in and I'm like struggling. Coco's greeting me, barking. Like she does this thing where she like kind of howls, but she has her ball in her mouth. So she's
Oh yeah.
like, but there's
That's
all
like my
this,
dog when he goes.
yes, and there's all this noise. And then PK says to me, I got the mail. And I was like, well, I sure hope so. You were here first. And he was like, you have to embarrass
Yeah.
me in front of company? I was just saying that you didn't have to go back out.
Go
But it was that
fuck
kind of thing where I was like, duh. I
Yeah,
hope you
and
did,
it's
you
also
jerk.
like
I'd be mad
you're
if you
saying it
didn't.
at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Like, you want to say that after I've set my stuff down and I'm like, I'm trying to get my shit together? Fine. Say it when I'm walking in and everything's chaotic and the dog's
It's like a kind of thing where I was
I'm not
like,
absorbing anything.
and he's
Yeah.
usually the one to get the mail anyway, so it was just like one of those things where I was like, oh, was there something
Yes.
in there? Like, why are you telling me this?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Well, it's like you
so
and I were saying the other night, like, if I've done 400 things around the house, I am eventually going to draw the line and okay, I'm not doing anything else. I have a friend who has a rule that after 8 o'clock, she doesn't do any cleaning.
oh,
And she's literally like, oh, nope, 8 o'clock. That's for tomorrow. I'm not doing it. And I mean, I respect it, kind of fear it because I totally can't do it.
mm-hmm.
But I do think there's an element I probably will incorporate just to try and like, okay, that's enough. Just like when we
Yes.
were talking about that one, I was like, you never leave a room empty-handed. And you were like, yeah, but then you can't rest. And I was like, yeah, I know. I don't. I don't rest anymore.
Isn't it cute?
Isn't it? I'm dwindling. My mental health is evaporating.
Just a
Um,
very frayed thread that you're hanging on by.
but don't worry, the sink is empty. So I think there is an element I'll probably incorporate, but like having that line, you're like, okay, this is the last thing I'm doing tonight, and then I'm getting into bed, or I'm gonna sit and watch TV, or like whatever it is. Like I'm doing
Mm.
this, and then I'm
That's a
done.
good idea too
I
for
think,
like,
yeah,
I think if you're trying to like, because we've talked about like spring cleaning and having like those little lists for each room, or like a list, like we have a list on our fridge of like little tasks to do each day, like clean
hmm,
off the dining table on like a Wednesday so that it's not murderous by Sunday, and
oh
putting
yeah,
the
yeah,
shoes
yeah.
away in the shoe rack in the middle of the week. Like little things that like build up, but they're like a
That
30
take
second
2 minutes.
task. Yes.
Yes,
So,
quick and easy.
but the idea of like also having a cutoff, so it's kind of like we talked about, like setting that timer and saying, okay, it's 7:50. I've got 10 minutes to check off this
Yep.
list, and then at 8 o'clock, I get to stop. So, speed run, like quick run through, do those things to like avoid the guilt of being like, oh, I didn't, like, you're laying in bed and you're like running through your day and you're like, God, I didn't do that thing I was supposed to do and I wanted to do. I guess I'll just do it tomorrow. And then by tomorrow you forget. But like,
Hmm.
it's a good like workaround for like finding a balance between um never resting and never
Hmm.
cleaning.
Yeah.
Um, but I did
And
have
then I didn't
a
think of like,
list of what I thought ADHD love languages were. And
oh,
the first
I
one I
love
have
this.
is especially for you. It's extensive. It's rocks.
Can I tell you something about rocks?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were packing to go on a trip last week, and my spouse folded up the stroller, and a rock, a rock that I had picked up on a walk, went rolling across the floor, or like the pavement, and we both just stopped and looked at each other. He goes, "That's fucking amazing! I can't believe that just happened." And I was like, "Oh, that was a good one," and I picked it up, and it's in my kitchen now.
That was a
So,
good one.
and I was
Yeah, no,
literally
it was
walking,
literally
saw, and I
first
was
on
like,
my list.
smooth, because that's
Oh
my
my
favorite.
God.
That's my
You
favorite
have
thing is a smooth
got
rock.
to send me a picture of that rock and also make sure that
Yeah,
our editor puts it in to the video
yeah.
episode for people to
It's a
see.
nice smooth rock, and I feel like it's roughly heart shaped, but I'll have to double check. But yeah, no, a smooth rock is like, you know where I think it comes from is I loved when I would go camping, and we always went camping when I was a kid, was skipping stones. So I feel like that's where it comes from. Is I'm always like, ooh, smooth and flat, smooth and flat, smooth and flat. I'm sorry. Anyway, what's the second one?
I
What
love that you
autism?
immediately had a story about rocks for us.
I literally hold on just a second. It's literally gonna take a second. Hold on.
She can't hear me right now, but that's my best friend with all her rocks.
So, sitting in the room
Welcome
with me
back
right now
to
is a
Show
rock
and Tell.
that I got. I even wrote on it York Beach in January of 2012,
Ooh.
and it's
So that was your first rock?
Catherine. I've been collecting rocks since I was about 2.5 years old. My parents loved to tell stories about how they would leave a place with pockets full of rocks because I would run around and go, oh, look at this one. Look at this one. And just hand them to my parents. And then they just were like, well, what do we do with them now? Because she's attached to all of these rocks. So yeah, I have like jars of rocks all over my house. But I knew as soon as we were saying that, I was like, I know I have a rock in this room. I know
I
I
can
have a
smell
rock
it.
in this room with me right now. It's close. So anyway. Woo!
The second one
Yeah,
I had
rocks,
was
clearly.
so Garrett's number one love language is rocks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
The second one I wrote down was making my hyperfixation meal for me perfectly, like so that I don't have to make it. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Also, bringing me water, 10 out of 10.
Yes. Yes. I will say,
Memes.
since our
Sorry.
editor is going to be listening to this, he could work on that. Sometimes I go all day and I don't have a drink, and it's because I'm taking care of a cranky baby. Get me
Well, the
water
last
sometime.
time though, you just barfed into your yarn bucket, so.
Oh, that was such a bad day. That was such
Tune
a
into
bad day.
Patreon for that full story.
Oh
But
God, that was an awful day. When I traumatized my baby. Oh my God, it was so bad.
The fourth one I have is memes. So like sharing
Oh yeah.
memes or
Yep,
posts or
yep, yep.
whatever. Sharing my comfort shows with me is a big one. Like
Yep.
PK is suffering through a rewatch of The Office right now, and he definitely doesn't love it as much as he loved Parks and Rec. But I really appreciate that he's
Have
toughing
you
it
done
out for
a
me.
Modern Family comfort
We
watch yet?
we have not, no.
Oh, that's one of our comfort watches. That's a good one.
The other one I really love is Schitt's Creek. I think I've watched
Oh
it
yeah,
through
that's a
like
good
4
one.
or 5 times. Like,
Yeah.
I love that show.
I go through phases where that's like a background
Mm-hmm.
thing that I have on.
Um, and then I have cleaning the things I hate touching, like dishes. That's a big one for me. Like,
That's a good one.
yeah. Comedy shows. We just got tickets to one of our favorite comedians for July, but I
Oh,
love going to a comedy
fun.
show or like sharing a
Um,
clip with me of a comedian.
yeah, I was always a big stand-up comedy fan, and what is really sad to me is I was a huge Louis C.K. fan, and I saw him
Mm,
like 3 or 4 times live, and he was so, I just thought his humor was so funny, and he used to have that show Louis
mm-hmm.
with the two little girls, and he was, I think he was a single dad,
Yes.
and he had this like really great wisdom that he included it. So I was just like, so that was one of those like Me Too takedowns that I was like especially devastated by because I was just like such a fan of his.
Yeah.
Um, and he
PK
was
really
really
likes him
funny
too.
live. Yeah. It's a bummer that he's a creep.
Yeah.
God. But yeah, no, I have gone to a few stand-up comedy things and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Especially live because there's like stuff that
Yeah.
is
The guy that we're going to see is Jeff Arcuri, and he does like a lot of crowd work. Um, and
I love
it,
watching crowd work, but please don't include me in crowd work.
I'll send you some of his clips because it's like, it's just so funny. Like, it's like he was talking to some girl. He's like talking to the audience about like what they look for. Like, what's the first thing you notice in another person that like you would be potentially romantically interested in? And there's a
And all the
girl
women are
that
like, oh, physical affection is their love language. That's what I look for. Kidding.
well, there's
Nobody's
this
looking for
woman in
that.
the front row who was like cheering about something else earlier in the show. And said something like he noticed that she had braces. And so then later on he's talking to somebody and they're like, "Oh, the first thing I notice is a smile." And he's like, "What if they're under construction?" And then they pan to her and she's like,
Oh,
like cheesing and like looking around.
good
She was
for
like
her.
such a good sport about it. It was the funniest fucking thing. It was so cute. But I was like,
I would have
girl,
literally been like, I'm
oh,
trying.
I would
No
have been
thanks.
that girl.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. The fact that the two of us both had completely different responses, I'd be like, please don't look at them. And Katie's like, do you want me to high kick while I have my braces on?
So we won't go to a comedy show together. That'll be
We just need to sit in two very different places. You can sit up
yes.
front. I just want to sit in the dark corner and be an observer. That's the secret.
You're like Voldemort in the back of a
Oh,
bar.
yeah. That's exactly. You know what? I want to exist in a public space like Voldemort. Don't talk to me. Don't acknowledge that I'm here. Just let me observe and be
Leeching onto
malingering
the
in the
back of someone's
corner.
head under a turban.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me hide in the darkness and malinger.
You
And
really are a
you guys keep
cat.
existing.
You're a house
I
cat for
think so.
sure.
I think I'm like an indoor outdoor cat. I had to
Oh
guess.
yeah, you would definitely be an outdoor cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't like to shit in a box.
Yeah, I don't like to shit in a box. I've never it's never come up, but I can tell you, I don't think I'd be into it. What's your love language? Not shitting in a box. Title of the episode.
It's my shit in a box.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Yes.
Yes, I can. Times 3.
Oh, you just scooped it? Let me drop a huge loud deuce. I'm gonna make you gag.
Hey, do you remember the first Instagram clip that we did when Sophie rubbed her beehole on your microphone?
Yeah.
It doesn't still smell like butthole, does it?
No.
For a second, I
Dissipated.
thought you were gonna be like, a little. Dissipated. Yeah, that's
The
good.
last one I had written down was believing in me. Even with
Oh,
like I
yeah.
have like harebrained ideas or like I want to really get into like I don't know, cross stitching or like whatever my hyper focus might be.
Hmm.
Like just backing me up on that is like so big for me.
Yeah. My spouse is a very can be a very impulsive person. So we're like the worst possible combination of me being like, and then him going like, yeah. and, and then we take something and run with it. We
Yeah.
do that a lot. But
That
you
to
know
be
what?
fair, that is how this podcast got made. So
Yeah, but it's also like I feel like with ADHD, between like the masking that you're doing to like keep up with your peers and
yeah.
there's something to be said for having a secure, stable, like safe relationship where you can just fucking I mean, it is just verbal diarrhea most of the time in this house. One of us is like, you know what we should do? And the other one's like, yeah. But
Yeah. Oh,
like
I
that's
witnessed it
so
yesterday.
so good for you. We do it 24/7.
Yes.
Like the other day, the baby was like in her high chair, like, please, for the love of God, put me to bed. I'm so tired. And two was like, and you know what else? And you know what else? Like, I think that that is like so good for your brain.
Yes.
It's like when we've talked about how I will like give myself time, especially when I'm cleaning, to just let the ADHD go. Just let it be
Mm-hmm.
feral, let it do its thing, and just like give your brain that like free space. And that's kind of how I feel like that is. Like I feel like it's like good for your brain. It's good for your ADHD brain to just like not limit yourself and let
Mm-hmm.
yourself run with it and be excited and like feel that rush of dopamine. And because sometimes it's a great idea. This podcast, it started out as like a and now it's a podcast. It's like a real thing. It's like a
I
real thing that
know.
we do. So it's
We're gonna hit
I
100 episodes in 10 weeks,
oh my god.
and I'm gonna scrimpt.
We are, yeah. There's gonna be a lot of scrumping. Maybe that'll just be the whole episode. Will just be a cut of us scrimpting at different points.
I actually have a great idea for that episode, but I can't tell you. So, because I need to know if it's going to come together first.
Oh, okay. Well, now I won't sleep for weeks. So I think it's definitely. I'm just really mad about Gary Chapman. This is another man. We should have a running list of men that should have been bullied, and he's going on that list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
kind
fair.
of like that fucking the guy who was delivering babies in the whirlpool with the essential oils.
I think he was also named Gary. Maybe it's just if you're named Gary, you can't.
Maybe that's what it is.
Be invited.
But also, you needed to, like, somebody should have bullied this man that when he was like, I think people. Nope, that's stupid, Gary. And he would have been like,
Gary.
Oh,
it was D. Gary Young.
That's right. Well, now we have 2 Garys.
Meow.
On the list that should have been bullied. We'll keep adding to it. We're putting Elon Musk on that list. I think he was bullied, but not enough. He's
definitely bullied more as an adult. He needed to be bullied as a child.
And it's got to be like just enough bullying to like not totally make them angry incels, but just the right balance to where you're dissuading these bad ideas, but not so much that you're like crushing somebody's spirit, you know? There's like a therapeutic bullying level, I feel like.
Well, and I think it's also, you know, in the case of Elon Musk, it's the sort of like he deserved more bullying because like he was rich in apartheid South Africa and white. Yes. So it's kind of like, well, you know, you're already
an emerald mind. No,
yeah.
Was that hard?
It's like in The Crown when Prince Charles was bullied in his boarding school. It's kind of like, well, you know, you'll be fine.
I've been watching The Crown, by the way.
Yes.
And remember how I was like, well, I didn't want to watch it because it just seemed like rich people problems.
Yes.
You know what? It's rich people problems.
Yes.
I just watched.
I do love that her sister is such a loose cannon at all times, though.
Oh, that's the best. No, she's great. She's great. She's a great character. There's a scene where Charles and Diana, like after the divorce, she was like, oh, I can make an omelet. And they're sitting there and he goes, why doesn't one eat scrambled eggs more often? I was like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Oh, we should eat in the kitchen more. This is great fun. I was like, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about?
In her Kensington Palace apartment.
Yes. She needed fucking instructions on how to make an omelet. No, you can't. No. It makes me mad on 1,000 different levels. And like, there's no amount of money you could give me that I couldn't know how to scramble a fucking egg.
Well, to be fair, she tried to make an omelet and it turned into scrambled eggs because she fucked up flipping the omelet.
Which is like, you think this motherfucker knows the difference? He doesn't know the difference. You put it in front of him. He doesn't even know how to serve it to himself. You know, it was just anyway.
Which is also wild because Charles, like in The Crown and I presumably in real life, is so very like, oh, this is my farming homestead at Sandringham, Hampshire.
I love the gardening. You don't actually fucking garden, Charles. You like looking at gardens. That's not the same thing as gardening.
Yes, he likes gardening the way like Louis XIV liked gardening. Like, I like gardening in the Versailles sense of things.
Yes.
I want the Versailles gardens.
Let's show a clip of Garrett when she's normally gardening in overalls, with a large hat, poison ivy all over the place because inevitably I will get poison ivy, like dirt in my eyeball, just like
yeah. That's what I'm going to be doing after we're done recording today.
Walking through a spider web and like just panicking. I mean, it's yes, now that I'm thinking about that, that's right. There was that scene where they're like, "Oh, he loves the garden, blah blah blah." And he bought this estate High Grove or whatever the fuck it was.
And they're like, there's that whole scene where he's like, renovating the gardens with like a backhoe. Like they were building up
That
this
is
property.
hardscaping.
Yes. Yeah, they
You're
were.
literally putting a fountain in the middle. That is not gardening, Charles. Um, I will
Oh, yes,
say,
it is, Mummy.
oh, hello, Gran. Um, 2 points.
We really pick
One,
on the British royals so much for an American
I know, and
podcast.
really,
I mean,
no,
I'm
I
not
stand by
sorry
it.
by
I
it.
stand by it.
Yeah, like
Yeah, no, the Royals deserve it. This isn't targeted at British people. This is specifically targeted at the Royals.
yeah.
If you're a monarchist, you're probably not listening to this anyway. Um, One thing is I have way more um empathy towards Charles and Camilla than I did before. Because I do
Mm,
genuinely feel like these are two people who just loved each other and couldn't be
yes,
together.
I agree.
I don't agree with like they were like shit bags about it a lot of the time, but like
Yes.
they weren't allowed to be together, and I think they do genuinely love each other. So like that I have more respect for.
Did
Also,
you like the scene of him saying he wanted to be her tampon?
I hated it just as much as when I read about it and just as much when I listened to the recording of it. So I still fucking hate it. Charles, I hope you hear this. It was vile. And
King Charles listens
um
to the bars ankle high.
imagine after we just
Ugh.
roasted him for scrambled eggs.
Him
Um
and Martha Stewart.
Martha,
Call
I
us
would die. Please. Oh my God.
for
If
episode
Martha Stewart
100.
called me,
Imagine. Imagine if that was my
Katie, if that was the
surprise.
surprise, I would pass away.
I would
I
have
would
to tell
pass
you in
away.
advance. I wouldn't let you show up to that as like unknowing.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
You would be
I
full
ro-
gremlin mode and then
it would be the one day where I was like, you know what? Fuck it.
yeah,
Sweaty and like dirty hair and
covered in
pimple
vomit.
patches on
Yeah.
my face and yeah, mine and the baby's.
Yeah.
Also, was the queen autistic? Like, do you remember when she was like, "There's something broken," and she was talking to the prime minister, and it was after that Wales, the mudslide thing
Yes.
at the mine,
The
and she
school or
was like,
whatever.
"I
Yeah.
just can't cry," and it's like, ma'am, she was getting teary eyed when they were decommissioning her fucking yacht. But when like 150 little Welsh kids got wiped out by a landslide, she was like, "I just can't cry. Get fucked. Sorry, Lilibet, but that's pretty
Yeah,
fucked
I
up."
do think that she perhaps had some spectrum tendencies.
Yeah,
Particularly
or
when
did
you
she
think
just have
about
the
what?
what's that? That kid with the DWI they were calling affluenza. That's what she's got.
She might I think she does have affluenza. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Because it's that, but which would explain how they're like, "Oh, we always go up to Balmoral and have Christmas Eve where everybody wears a tuxedo, even the small children on Christmas Eve. Isn't that
It's
lovely,
so
Mummy?"
quaint.
Yes, and like they're like, "Oh, um we're gonna go and go hunting and play in the woods and dirt, and then we're gonna come back and have formal dinner at 10 p.m. and also hear all the rules for when the prime ministers come to visit." And they have this schedule that they have to stick to with a strict dress code. But like it makes sense, like all of those things being super regimented in your vacation estate
Hmm.
if you were like
Yeah.
spectrumy about it. So like
In your
I
downtime.
yes, yeah, it's very yeah. I can't tell if it maybe it's a combination of factors. But yeah, the scene where she's like I can't cry and I don't get it. Like I don't understand. Like she couldn't understand how somebody could cry in empathy
Yeah.
for somebody when she's never lost her child and she never would lose her children in such an accident. So therefore, like she
Yeah.
couldn't she had no capacity
To empathize.
to feel the pain that this entire community was feeling when a school was crushed by the side of a mountain.
like multiple
collapsing.
kids in this. They have like that one family, and it was like, oh, nephew, this one's twins. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
so at first when I was watching, I was like, oh, you know what? That's interesting. Like maybe some of the misunderstanding that was behind her, because I feel like she did have this like very, stereotypical like cold British
Yes.
attitude, distant, hands off. I was like, maybe that's actually what it was. And then, literally, like 2 days ago, I was watching the one decommissioning of this boat, and she's like, and then I was like, then I had it, and I was so mad.
It's funny.
I
I was
was like,
thinking
I
about that
cannot
because
believe.
I was looking at like stuff to do in Edinburgh, and that's where the Britannia is docked since it's been decommissioned. So like you can tour it. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, that might be interesting. And then I was like, no, fuck that. Like she got
Yeah.
so mad that this old as fuck steamship that she takes around the British Isles was broken beyond repair.
She's like, do you mean I can't use the coal from the Welsh children to run my boat anymore? And the taxpayers won't
What?
pay for it? This is anti-monarchist. That's treason. Like I mean, it was just like there was a scene where there was like that one prime minister, I think before Margaret Thatcher, who was like very blue collar, and he's like going to the palace and like, all right, and they're rattling off the rules of like when you bow. And in my head I was like, "Oh my God, I would make a fucking mess of this because I would not retain a single piece of information. I'd be so nervous and flustered. I would be like curtsying and like when
I'd
they were
probably
showing Margaret
curtsy and
Thatcher.
then like audibly fart as I was doing it. Like I would do
Oh, for
something
sure.
that would like make it impossible to come back from without
Bend over
acknowledging
and
like what I
belch.
just did. Like, or like I'd back up and like knock over an antique table or something and then like the
Yes,
leg
that was
pops
like
off
King
and
George's.
yes. Like
Yes.
they were at like when Thatcher was at Balmoral and like her
Mhm.
husband sat in Queen Mary's chair or whatever the fuck and they were like
Oh, her little
nobody
desk
sat in that
chair.
chair since Queen Victoria. It's like put a fucking plaque on it then you weirdos.
Yes.
Which
Like it's
again, very spectrumy. Like very much like you don't
yes.
touch that and you should have known. I'm not going to explain to you. Which again, it's like that thing where it's like, oh, all of a sudden all these people have autism and ADHD and like, yeah, tell me more about your grandpa who always had to have the same exact breakfast and lunch every single day and would talk to you about his toy train set for hours on end. Like,
Correct.
you know, it's just like that. Like everybody knows you don't touch
Yes.
grandpa's trains in the basement. Those are only for looking, not playing. And like those types
Yes.
of things where it's like, uh,
Mhm, mhm,
that's a pretty
mhm,
firm boundary for
mhm.
something that looks like a
Wow.
toy.
Although I will hand it to the Crown. The casting, excellent.
10 out of 10. Yeah.
10 out of 10 on everybody.
Right?
You're like, "Oh, let me see. Oh shit." Like I
Especially for
literally
Diana. Like the mannerisms, the way she
yes.
turned her head every
Her
time.
tilting her head. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and
You know
like,
what got me? Margaret Thatcher, they had Gillian Anderson playing her, and I
mhm.
literally turned to my spouse. I was like, "How did they make somebody who's normally super hot become Margaret
She
Thatcher?"
looks like the
Like,
keeper. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And any other time I see Gillian Anderson, I'm like, "Oh, you are gorgeous." I saw her in this, I was like, "Oh, you hate black people. What happened?"
Also, the way she was, I mean, the way all of them talked, had like
Oh,
whatever speech coaches they had were just
yes.
outstanding
Spot
because they
on.
had this like for Margaret Thatcher in particular, she has like she it's just like spit it out for God's sakes. like
Yes.
she talks like she's had a stroke and is struggling to find the words. Like she talks so
Mhm.
slowly. Um
Mhm.
it's like, "Oh my God." Like
Yes. Speaking of ADHD,
I mean truly.
fucking spit it out, man. I'm aging over here.
Yeah.
I can't take it.
Yeah. And also the Charles for like the 80s and the first part of his marriage to
Yes.
Diana, outstanding. I do think
Yep.
that the later Charles didn't quite look the way Charles did in like the 90s and
Yeah.
aughts, but um you know, you had to make
But
do.
he's a good actor.
I love
I feel
that
like I've seen him
actor.
in other
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
He was
was it
amazing.
Dominic
Yeah.
West? I
Yeah.
mean, he's been in like everything. He was in The
Mm-hmm.
Wire. He was in that show, The Affair. I watched that for a little bit. Which ironically, didn't he get caught fucking around with I think her name's Lily James. She was in Downton Abbey, but I think she's in The
I don't
Crown, but I
know.
don't know who she plays. Um, yeah,
I'm not sure.
he literally got caught like in the bushes with her. And then he released some kind of statement about how hard this stressful it's been on. Yeah, then don't bang your co-star. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I
You
imagine
literally
your
got caught in the
family would
bushes with her.
be. It's that scene in Love Actually where they're like, "I hate Uncle Jamie."
Yes. Yeah. I
My
mean, it's
family's
just
really
like
stressed
so.
out.
It couldn't be what I'm doing. It has to be what you're doing.
Also, so what did you think of the storyline with Kate Middleton
I'm
and
not there
like her
yet.
mom and oh, you're not there.
No. So I'm at the beginning of okay, I'm right at the part where Diana and what's his name, Dodie
Mm-hmm.
get together. That's where I am.
Okay, so they're on
Um,
the yacht.
yes.
Are the boys with
Yeah.
her or no?
Yes.
Okay,
I think. I did have it on the background when I was like doing other things a little bit for a while. But I'm
that's
pretty
fine.
sure because that's like where the father like pressured him into coming and tried to force them
Yes,
together
and
basically.
he's with
Yeah.
Dodie is with that actress slash model
He's literally
person.
3 weeks before he's supposed to get married.
Yes, and like his
Wild.
father hates her, and
Yeah.
it's very weird their whole relationship.
Yes.
But it's interesting to see things about Dodi Al Fayed, because I feel like that does get left out quite a bit. Um,
Yeah. I didn't know
and
anything
the
about
You're Wrong
anything.
About did an episode. I think they did multiple episodes about Diana, but
Oh,
they talked about like You're Wrong About Princess Diana, and they talked about
yeah.
what was really going on with her and Dodi Al Fayed. And at one
Yeah.
point, the host Sarah was like, "Yeah, she was just kind of like a messy girl in her late 20s and early 30s, figuring it out." And like she was kind of messy,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
like this is like if your friend was behaving this way and seeing a man who was engaged, you'd be like, "Girl, what are you doing?"
Yeah. You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Also, you don't even know this man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lord, there was a scene where I don't know, it was a lady who does her acupuncture. Her husband was having the surgery. That's how she met that doctor.
Yes.
But they're in the hospital and the doctor came and talked to them and he walks away and she was like, "Where do you think he was from?" And the lady's like, "I don't give a shit." And she's
Yeah.
like, "He was pretty hot though, right?" And the lady's like, "I don't care."
Yes.
And she'd be like, "Did you see his eyes?" And the lady's like, "I don't give a fuck."
Yeah, she
That was
was
a very
so
funny scene
hard
to me.
up for brown men, I guess. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Okay, side note, I do have like no, our editor would definitely remove it and say, "I'm gonna save you guys from getting canceled." I
Okay.
will save that story for off air. Um, I do want you to know I am still fondling my rock.
Good for you.
Yeah, it
It's a
is
very
very
nice
smooth.
rock. I'm sure it's
Thank you.
very friendly.
It's smooth.
I'm peeling a sticker off my
Um,
keyboard, so.
what ADHD? um, well, that was really, we went off the rails.
Yeah, quite a
But,
bit.
you know, I'm real mad about love languages, but I am also very vindicated because I've never like connected with that very much. I've tried to like apply it and it
Mhm.
just like square peg round hole for
Yes.
me every time I tried to like
And I think that's why I've struggled with it because I always, it's like, well, what is your love language? Not what are your love languages. So it's that thing of like,
yeah.
well, I don't know. I mean, I like having sex. Like I like physical touch. Like I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't touch me, and I don't
Have
want
you
to be
seen
with
that
somebody who
tweet?
never, tells me that they like me or that I'm pretty or,
Right.
like I also don't want to be the only person doing chores. Like, it's
Right.
the sort of thing where it's like, well, why do I have to pick just one? And like,
Like am I the problem
yes.
because I want a gift and for you to touch my hair and tell me everything's going to be okay
Yeah.
while you also wash my laundry and give me a little snack.
Right, and compliment my rock collection.
That's all I want every day.
I could not be more clear.
I don't know what's so hard about it. But I would read that and I'd be like, I mean, I'm not like desperate for compliments, but when I got this new pair of pants or whatever,
Yeah.
like this new pair of pants I'm wearing from Costco that are the best fucking pants ever. Love them. Anyway, compliment my new Costco pants, but
I love
also
your
do my laundry sometimes.
It's true though. And I mean like there's times where like PK will get dressed for work or well he'll come home from work having been dressed for work all day and I'll see him because I go to work before him. Um and like I'll compliment his outfit and be like, "You look really good in that. Like
Yeah.
that's hot." Like and it's like the
Yeah.
same thing goes for him. Like I'll go to leave for work and he'll be like, "You look really good today." Or like when I
Yeah.
showed up at your house yesterday and you're like, "You look cute," and then I posed for you like a toddler.
Yeah. And then you were like, your leggings look comfy. And I was like, oh, yeah, they're sweated to my ass right now because I'm sitting in the sun. Have I mentioned my hair was matted to my head this morning? So Katie responds by going, I respond by, oh, you think so? And I give you 40 reasons why you're wrong.
Yes. You went the overshare route of things.
I always go the overshare route of things when it comes to that. 100%
Okay.
of the time.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like when somebody's like, I like your dress. Thanks, it was $5. That's me every time.
That's useful
Oh,
information.
you're giving me a compliment? Let me make it bad. Let me make it a bad thing. Yeah.
So we'll put degradation on your list of love languages. She's holding up her rock next to her
My
face as
rock.
she smiles, folks.
Yeah.
There's a reason rocks are in your Birdsona pin. So
Yes.
yeah.
That was part of the description. She loves fucking rocks, man.
She doesn't love
Jars
fucking
of rocks
rocks.
all over.
She fucking loves rocks.
Yeah, that where the comma lands in that sentence is important.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Anyway,
clarifying.
until next week, make sure that you're subscribed to us wherever you get your podcasts. On Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review and write out a review because we're cute and it also really helps us out. And tell your friends about us. You can check out our merch at bit.ly/anklehighmerch. We also have an Instagram and a Threads account, and you can follow those at the bar is ankle high. And we are also on TikTok until the ban goes into effect in 270 days, or potentially up to a year, and a new buyer is found. And our TikTok handle is at ankle high pod. I post on there all sorts of videos, a lot of like, this is how I clean for my ADHD, and obviously episode clips as well. And oh yeah, and join Patreon for video and ad-free extended cut episodes. You get added to our close friends list on Instagram as well if you'd like. There's a form to fill out to be added to our close friends list. And you get to support us and get, Garrett closer to her long-term goal of getting to do this sort of thing full-time-ish.
And make sure to bully your local Gary.
I love that. Because the bar is ankle high. So good.